President Obama is reportedly preparing to give a farewell address in Chicago next month. The White House has not confirmed the report, but according to NBC's Chicago affiliate, the speech will take place on January 10th. For more on the president's legacy, I'm joined now by Jason Johnson, politics editor of TheRoot.com. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Sheinelle. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. I'll start with this. If Donald Trump comes in and, let's say, undoes everything Barack Obama accomplished, what will that mean for President Obama's legacy?
Well, first, Trump can't really undo everything Obama has done, but the best way to understand the legacy is kind of like a sandwich, right? Okay. Barack Obama's presidency is going to be sandwiched between an extremely unpopular George Bush and Donald Trump, who is coming in as the most unpopular president-elect in American history. So very likely, unless Donald Trump accomplishes everything that he's promised and turns America into a great, fantastic paradise for all people, Obama will probably look better and better in hindsight because of the unpopularity of the man that followed him.
Is there anything then the president can do now to protect his legacy from Trump? I mean, he's mentioned it before. I remember during the campaign, he talked to, to his supporters about protecting his legacy. So it's certainly on his mind. It may be in the back of his mind, but it's there.
Right. Well, look, one of the best things he could do to protect his legacy is make sure that what he created was too complicated to destroy. We can talk about the Affordable Care Act. Look, the Affordable Care Act, Barack Obama and his staff are very smart people. It's like a game of Jenga. Like, you can't pull out pieces from the Affordable Care Act without everything falling apart. What the Republicans have realized already is that they can't just keep keeping your children on until 26. They can't keep pre-existing conditions without other parts of the law. So, Obama's greatest legislative achievement is probably going to be one of the hardest things for Republicans to dismantle. And I think in a lot of cases, they're not going to want to because they don't have a good replacement yet.
Take a look at some of these numbers here. According to a USA Today Suffolk University poll, 49% say he'll be remembered as a good or great president. 25% say he'll be seen as a fair president. And 23% say he'll be remembered as a failed president. Now, granted, we don't have the leisure of time here, but how do you think history will remember President Barack Obama?
I think in 50 years, when everybody has their Obamacare and it becomes just a basic term, I think in 25 years, when we look at an America where, as of right now, 40% of Americans under the age of 15 are not white, Obama will be seen as the beginning of an inevitable demographic and social change in this country. Now, look, it doesn't mean that everything he did was perfect. Everything Reagan did, everything Bush did, everything Clinton did wasn't perfect. But I think when you have this presidency, which was relatively scandal-free, followed by someone who lost the Electoral College by 3 million votes, comes in amidst scandal, has white supremacists and terrorists as a part of his administration, it's highly unlikely that Obama's legacy won't appear to be greater and greater. No one's legacy is seen as a vacuum. It's always compared by who follows you, and it looks like he's being followed by someone who's going to make him look much better.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the Affordable Care Act. Look at these numbers. That same USA Today poll found that 24% of respondents think that the Affordable Care Act is the president's greatest achievement. We live in such a divisive society because look at this, 27% consider it his biggest failure. So you mentioned that you think eventually it will just be status quo. Where do you think it ranks as far as his achievements? There are a lot of people watching right now who are probably screaming at the TV because they don't think it's an achievement. But what do you think?
I think it's an adequate achievement. The law did some good things, right? It increased health care coverage for millions of Americans, but it didn't do a lot about cost. So now we have these discussions now where, well, should we do something about how much medicine costs, or should we do something about the coverage? There are plenty of things about the Affordable Care Act that need to be fixed. But long term, it actually brought it into public discourse. People know more about their health care today than they ever have in history, and they can hold their politicians more accountable. I'll also say this. Look, Obama's legacy with the LGBT community, with the Latino community, it's going to be a mixed bag. He's deported a lot of people. He increased gay marriage, but he didn't necessarily enforce different kinds of laws. The African-American community, lots of people got jobs, but also African-American unemployment and things like criminal justice. He was not nearly bold enough. And so, we'll be sort of deciphering and digging through his legacy for a long time. Right now, it seems fairly positive. It probably would have been more positive if he had been followed by Hillary Clinton, who would have strengthened and enforced some of the things that he set forth in the last 8 years.
Jason Johnson, good conversation, but I think you're right. We have to do this conversation again 50 years from now. We'll make a date.
Yeah. I'll be here.
All right. Thank you, Jason.
Bye-bye.